Good morning. It is time for Tina Book Tuesday, episode 69 with author Lisa Prysock. I hope you have something to drink that you enjoy. I have a cup of tea, Earl Grey today, and I hope you have a few minutes to chat with me. Today, I am talking about my current manuscript, and it will probably have released by the time that I release this video. So I'll give you the title of the book is A Parson's Bride, and I would like to talk to you about the two towns that are important to the book. So the heroine, she comes from a little town where I grew up near Massillon, Ohio, and the cool thing about Massillon was back in the 1800s, this town had a canal running through it called the Ohio and Erie Canal, and it opened in 1828. And farmers would come from, miles around to auction their wheat for the best prices. And they could sell the wheat to be stored in warehouses along this canal that could then get this wheat out to other places in the country. So James Duncan was the name of the gentleman who bought land along the Tuscarawas River, and he was very influential in building the canal and coordinating the construction project. So it opened in 1828, and my story is like an 1870s story. And so the canal was still very much alive, even though in the 1850s, the railways started coming through, and slowly the canal faded away. But according to my research, the canal was still going because there was flooding along the canal in 1913 and 1935 that ultimately led to them closing it down. So, but for many years, they built 44 sections, 27 miles of canal that were about 40 to 150 feet wide in some places, and they were 4 to 12 feet deep on average. There were over 100 locks to adjust with this canal, and through Massillon, the canal was basically about 50 feet deep. The canal brought in work and money to the town and to the rural areas. It helped schools to begin to be built, and stores opened and warehouses along the river. And so a thriving trade and market really helped to make Massillon a prosperous community in the early and mid 1800s and on up into the 1900s. I know that there was a grant from the government to build much of it, and there were boats that would come and barges, and they would bring household goods, agricultural supplies, and equipment at half the previous cost. So it was a very successful venture, and Massillon became known as the wheat city back in those days. Wheat was the number one crop in the area, and they were known for having a cash for wheat policy, especially at the Atwater Wellman warehouse. And they brought, it is estimated, 500,000 bushels of grain through, I think on an annual basis through this canal. So that was pretty cool. So that's where my heroine was from, and her father is a minister. The minister who is the hero in the story that she is going to be a mail order bride for, he has settled in a town that I've created. It's a fictional town called Blossom, and it is along the Red River Valley region. And I researched this area this is in North Dakota. And along the river, you have like Grand Forks and Fargo. And there are these little small towns that cropped up along this Red River region in the northeast and far northeast corner of North Dakota. So some of the little towns that I looked at for inspiration were like Pembina, Grafton, Thompson, and Walhalla. And what I liked about Blossom is I based it on a town that just reminded me a lot of bits and pieces from all of those other towns, which were primarily areas with very lush farmland, very small, fertile areas. And so that's a little bit of the background on the Parson's Bride. And I look forward to sharing the book with you. I hope you have by now already purchased a copy. And thanks for joining me today for episode 69 to hear a little bit more about the hero and the heroine in The Parson's Bride.